washed Masters player from
Yeah.
Overwatch 1.
Yeah.
I've been playing Overwatch since the beta, actually. Back in the day when
Really.
Blizzard used to invite people to betas and you'd have to pay to get in.
Yeah.
But um, so yeah, I peaked at on two different accounts, one on mostly playing tank and one mostly playing DPS, peaked at 39.95 and 39.98 and
That
never
is
quite broke.
painful.
Yeah, and what happened was I started playing with a group of friends who were much, much lower ranks. I had to make like a new account. And I did that for way too long and got sort of stuck in the habits of playing around like high plat and diamond. Like diamond was like roughly the limit I could carry that team to. So
Yeah.
I'd have to like start again over and over again. And I did that way too long. Then when Overwatch 2 launched, I hated it at the start. I
Mm-hmm.
think everyone did. And I just stopped playing for like the last 2 years. I came back when they started doing the 6v6 tests and the Overwatch Classic stuff, and
Okay.
saw that the game had like improved a lot more, and actually is in quite a good state now, and
Mm-hmm.
started playing again. And now I'm like sort of back in the original mindset I used to have of like hard grinding comp and actually
Sure.
really applying myself. So I've got
Sure.
two separate accounts mostly that I play on. One that's strictly dedicated to solo queue, and one that I still play with some friends on. So yeah, that's my time sort of split across those two, but I'd
Yep.
make sure to give some dedicated time to solo queue. But yeah, the reason I wanted coaching, long story short, is I wanted now that I'm getting back into it, like really seriously, wanted to give myself a boost, a sort of head start, and sort of kick my brain into gear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kind of like reevaluating where you need to be and what you need to do. Let's look
Yeah,
at goals here. So I want to identify things to work on. I spend a lot of time focusing on mechanics and positioning and
yeah,
rotations, but I still
yeah,
feel like I'm beating my head against a brick wall. Um,
yeah.
elaborate on that a little bit.
Um, yeah. I mean, I think part of it may be like there's a certain component of playing Overwatch that's you need to put a lot of time in, not just to improve, but actually to climb. Like climbing really requires
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Even if, like if you have a 55% win rate, I think it works out something like 500 hours to go from say gold to
Yeah.
masters.
Yeah. Yeah. And every time
Um,
there's a rank reset as well, like yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's I try and focus on positioning. When I do VOD reviews, I still catch myself. I mean, I have games where I feel like I play amazing, and then I go and watch the VOD, and it's like embarrassing, embarrassingly bad. Um, yeah, so I guess there's like areas where there's stuff that probably used to work a lot, you know, like back when I was a high masters player a long time ago, and now maybe doesn't work, or there's expectations I have of teammates that they're not maybe following up on. Like an example that sticks in my mind is I had a game a couple of nights ago on on Nepal, and it was
Hmm.
Sanctum, the indoors map, and we win the team fight, and our Orisa just goes AFK in the middle of the point, just sits on the point. Like, why aren't we going and holding the choke? You know, this kind of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of the typical old school behaviors that people have been doing forever in Overwatch, and you're seeing teammates not doing them, and me sort of second guessing whether I should. I mean, technically, in my mind, the right thing to do is you go forward and you try and put some pressure at that choke to make it harder because that's a really tough choke to get through.
Yes.
Or do I actually, because my tank isn't doing that, the correct move then is for me to sit back like towards our spawn
Yeah.
behind the point, like that it's these sort of things where I sort of second guess myself and have some
Right.
trouble like playing at the rank that I am, because this is the rank I am.
Yeah.
um just sort of that conflict of like old prior experience and knowledge with
Yeah.
the current area of the game I'm in
Sure.
and what my skill matches.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the rule is always like, what are the rules of Overwatch that are applicable at any rank, and then how do they apply at this rank? And a lot of the reasons is it's less about how and more about where. So, for example, you talked about like you should be taking angle, you should be taking space, and different positions with whatever character that you're playing. But if your team
Yeah,
is sitting on point, or if your team is spawn holding in Numbani because you're playing in Bronze 3, then you need to find an angle or position around that position, right? So if your tank is sitting on point, okay, so what's the best angle and position that you could play that's around point, right? You
yeah,
should be holding the choke, but it's not as if you can't hold an angle around point as well, right? And so that's kind of like
yeah,
where you have to find a way to interpret around what your team is doing. But at the same time, I mean, you and I both know this, but like a lot of people try to like come up with gimmicks about how to climb to plat. You need to play this way, and how to climb to diamond. You need to play this way, and how to play to bronze. You play this way. And that's just not really the case. You know, there's a lot of the
yeah.
same principles.
Yeah, it's more like really old ingrained habits. Is like, okay, we won the team fight. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
go
yeah.
and sit at one of the two doors to that choke room with the mega,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
but then actually what I need to do is build a habit of checking, is my
That's
team
that's
actually
that's
doing
just
that?
it. That's just it. I have this
Yeah,
distinct memory in Diamond playing Sigma, I think at some point. This was several months ago. And we won the fight on Circuit Royale like late first defense. And so I'm pushing up to back to the original, not all the way to the original choke, but the next corner essentially, because it's better space for my backline, it's better space for me.
yeah,
And I died, and I turn around, and I have literally 4 people sitting on point,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm by
That's
myself.
my
And we
experience.
had
Yeah,
just won the fight, and I'm sitting on point, and I'm like losing my mind. But it's definitely shared responsibility here, where like I have expectations of my teammates that they don't follow through. But
yeah,
it's always consistently aware. It's always the where. And like you said, I was not aware of where my teammates were, and so
yeah.
technically I do share some of the responsibility. But at the same time, it's annoying. Like let's not sugarcoat it. It's really really annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I played I played a load. I played something like 20 tank games today, and
Yeah.
uh, like it was just so cursed. Like it's
Mhm.
just like real mixture. I think I went 11 and 9, and
Uh-huh.
it was either like it felt like I was smurfing, like hard stomps, or just like really frustrating close games where
Yep.
sort of have like a Junkrat going 4 and 19,
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you
or a
feel.
Kiriko with 200 healing after 15 minutes. Like, maybe it's because I was playing in the daytime like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the time of day thing. But yeah,
Maybe. Yeah. Part of it's also the rank reset, but yeah. Okay. So I
oh
want to
yeah,
identify things to work on. Feel like I beat my head against
yeah.
a brick wall. I need to learn to understand the key gameplay difference from Overwatch 1, as that's where most of my habits were formed. So where do you feel like those differences are? Like, surely you have at least a guess.
Well, I mean, one obvious one is the lack of a second tank, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's always going to be in my mind that you have main tanks. Like, I mean, I would call basically any tank with a shield a main tank, apart from maybe
Sure.
Sigma, and then you have off tanks like your Hog, your Diva, your Zarya. But now there's
Right.
just tank. There's just tank.
Yeah.
And you have these situations where you might have a situation where there's, let's say it's Zarya versus Zarya, and you can either sit there beaming one another, or you can just walk past each other and kill the backline, and that's weird to me. I've heard some people say that Overwatch 2 is more structured, and I just couldn't disagree more. Like it
Sure.
feels a lot less structured, and that's the thing. There, I'm sure that is structure, and I'm missing it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's structure, but I mean, it might be a slightly different structure than how you're familiar with, essentially, right? So we'll pursue that.
yeah,
Short-term rank goal is diamond. Long-term is just a touch grandmaster. Okay, is that still the case?
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I mean, I have thanks to the rank reset, I think with the and also the overtuned Ana perks, I have actually hit Diamond 4 on support.
Sure.
Um,
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
but yeah,
All right. I have a lot of Dunning-Kruger, both positive and negative. Overestimating my game knowledge, underestimate my mechanics. I took a long break away from Overwatch and returned to a very different game. Deeper explanation, I probably focused too hard on my mechanics, especially my aim, to the detriment of thinking about other things going on in the game. I do have a lot of experience, but it's in Overwatch 1, and I think that a lot of the principles and approaches don't apply. We've talked about this a little bit, and the Mat community has massively outgrown it. Yeah, so let's talk about schedule before we go more into some of the gameplay side of things.
Yeah.
So obviously you're in a pretty unique situation, and I think that you're probably pretty aware of like the downsides of what you're doing. So I don't need to sit here and preach to you that like you should play one role, you should play solo queue. I mean, you know those things, right? But at the same time, you want to have fun, and playing with friends
I
is
enjoy
fun.
playing all the roles, and as
Yeah,
Overwatch
exactly.
1 player, right? You used to queue in, and if you're, I mean, my computer at the time wasn't the greatest, so oftentimes I'd be filling, right? I'd be trying to
Right.
play whatever. So you end up playing at a very high level and playing all those roles depending on what the team needs, and
Right.
I do kind of miss that a bit, but not enough to play open queue. in
Yeah,
Overwatch.
yeah. And I think as long as you right, exactly. As long as you manage your expectations, then it's fine. Really.
Yeah. I like that's why I'm, immediate goal is just to get diamond on all 3 roles. That's a simple,
Sure. Sure.
achievable goal, and then
Sure.
go from there.
The only question I always ask people like you, and I've coached a lot of people like you, is when you do play tank, DPS, and support, are you always playing heroes that you like, or is there ever a situation in which?
Oh
you're
yeah,
flexing
no,
outside?
I avoid picking a hero that I don't just counter pick, right? I pick something from things that I feel I can work with and that I want to play. So at the minute I'm in, I feel comfortable playing most of the roster, but
Sure.
I generally will at the moment I'm picking Winston or Zarya as tanks,
Sure.
maybe a bit of Reinhardt as well, or
Sure.
Sigma.
Sure.
DPS, actually, I've just been one-tricking Ashe the last week.
Yeah.
Just really enjoying her for some reason.
Yeah.
But with a bit of Tracer as well.
I would say
I
that's probably the best way of approaching things. It's kind of how you're describing, where it's like I go on like these little runs where I really like a character or
Yeah,
really like a handful of
yeah.
characters, and I play them for a couple of weeks. Like if you want to progress, like you're gonna reset your timer a little bit, but like I like that a lot better than just playing like musical chairs every single lobby hero selection.
Yeah, and what I'm also doing is like I'm rotating which role I'm playing. So I'm doing like say 10 games of support, then 10 games of tank, then 10 games of DPS, and sort of going around in a loop like that to keep it fresh, but also to give me like a sort of consistent run of practice on a particular
That's fine.
role.
That's fine. I mean, it's not optimal, but it's also not the worst situation either. It's like finding the best of your situation and making the most of it, so it's fine. And then I assume in terms of like, I guess the other low-hanging fruit would be like, do you have anything that resembles a warm-up routine? Do you just jump in? Do you have tilt mitigation in terms of like taking breaks, getting enough sleep, stepping away? Those kind of low-hanging fruits that apply to like, it doesn't matter what you play.
Yeah, my sleep is pretty routinely good, save the occasional like screaming neighbors or something.
Yeah.
I also have like, so I'll spend a little bit of time in Baxter, not a super long time, maybe 20 minutes at most.
That's fine.
Like it depends what I'm going to do. Like if I'm going to be playing, if I'm queuing up to play tank, right, and I'm playing a lot of Winston or Zarya, I'll spend a little bit of time doing primal rage, like juggling, or I'll spend a bit of time practicing right click, left click, right click, Zarya. That's that sort of thing, just a brief warm up.
Yeah, there's a bit of like irony in the fact that it doesn't really matter what you. I mean, it does a little bit, but it's actually more important to just warm up and less important to what you're warming up on. Like you could literally find value out of doing a primal rage code before playing Widowmaker. I'm not even joking. It's like the fact of focusing on anything, like kind of like waking your mind up is good. Now I wouldn't recommend you using primal rage code, but my point being is that like if you're doing anything remotely resembling something mechanically challenging for even just 5 minutes, that's kind of what you want in a warm up, right?
Yeah.
So you're good to go. I guess so. Then schedule's relatively fine. It's good enough. In terms of the like revisiting things, so we can kind of close the store before we get into gameplay here. You talked about mentality improvement / refresh, identifying bad old habits. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit. The old habit stuff, Overwatch 2 adjustments, and so on. But to make sure that we've closed the door, what do you mean specifically with mentality improvement or refresh? We might kind of just revisit stuff that you've already mentioned, but I'd like to make sure that door is closed.
I mean, yeah, I think I'm doing okay with that actually. It's just one of those things where it's like, currently I am high plat, low diamond, and it's just a kind of confidence thing. It's like, come on, I used to be a masters player now, but it's like it is the rank I am. I accept that it's the rank I am, but I also like, back when I was at that rank, a lot of people at that rank would look down on people at the rank I'm at. So it's kind of like a knock to the confidence. Kind of thing.
Right. Well, the problem is that you are what you put in, and probably the way that you're approaching the game then was a little bit different than how you are now. The other thing, if you want a cope session for you here, the player base has improved a lot.
Oh yeah.
Like since then, right? Like I mean, you go back and look at some of my Grandmaster games as an Ana player. I'm unquestionably a better Ana player now, and I'm like low masters back to when I was like mid GM. And not only that, but also like I don't know what's gonna look like post rank reset now, but prior to this rank reset, Diamond was just straight up harder to get than it was in Overwatch 1, and Masters was definitely harder to get. So Diamond, as of this past season, versus old Diamond, it's different. It's a lot harder. Like Grandmaster is like 0.25% of players as opposed to like 1 or 1.5, right? Which is insane.
Yeah.
So, the player base has improved. It's harder to get higher ranks, or at least it was outside of like season 8 and season 4 of Overwatch 2. And your approach to the game has definitely changed as well, and so your rank will too. So, okay. Well, we can look at gameplay here if you want.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously I'm playing all 3 roles. I don't know whether you want to look. I've earmarked a couple of replay codes from different roles, but I wonder if maybe we did live coaching. I did just hit.
I'm up for whatever, mate. I'm up for whatever. I mean, we could do like a lot of like little details or fundamentals. We could just skim over a tank code, DPS code. We could do some live coaching. I'm honestly down for whatever.
If it's cool for you, then let's do some live coaching, and I'll hit. I'll just flex, and we'll see what I get.
Works for me.
1 sec. Sorry, my insane spreadsheet. Can you see my screen?
Sure can. Looks good to me. That's one of the nice benefits of flex queuing is it's like, hey, queue times don't exist. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get tanked, right? So.
yeah, basically. So you said, was it Zarya Hazard? I can't remember what you said.
No, Winston and Zarya are the things I'm playing the most, and I'm kind of inclined to pick Winston here because,
yeah.
Again, this is one of those maps where it's like, I don't know whether the DPS are going to know to use the stairs or the doorway, you know, take that angle, and so if I take Winston, then it gives me an opportunity to open up the choke.
The first 3 heroes picked, and my goodness, are we in a platinum lobby?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm seeing loads of Bastion at the minute. Loads of Bastion.
Okay, to be fair, Bastion I think is actually quite fun and pretty good right now.
Yeah,
so.
and the people are loving him.
Yeah, they did a great job.
I'm not loving it when like my teammates are just like freely walking in front of one, but that's, that's a different story.
His perks are pretty healthy, I will say. Like overall, they're not just fun. But, like they don't exacerbate the worst parts of him necessarily. I mean, the infinite heals, they need to address that. But
oh yeah, I saw the clip of the Tracer mag dumping him, and just,
I feel like it's bugged, but yeah. Okay, so what would you do going into a game like this? Would you just play? Do you have any specific goals? Like what adjustments are we thinking here?
So, I mean, the approach I'm going to take is I'm going to scout quickly and probably look to take the bridge.
Sure.
My main concern here is probably the healer combo that I have.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to think about that a little bit and probably not rely on them so much.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a Zarya. I probably don't want to push too hard now that we're down already.
Yeah.
But
You've got a little bit of space to see if you can kind of hold this until...
I'm trying to bait them a little bit and make them think about me.
Yeah, nice.
No. Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's like you
I didn't notice the soldier actually run up on me. Should have. When I saw him come around the clock tower, I should have respected that more. And
yeah. So maybe what you could do is like try to factor in all your variables, mostly where the enemy is positioned. Kind of how you were really thought. Wait, well, yeah, I don't know. Think about think about what information you have with where the enemy team is, and think about where you should stage. So like this is kind of easy, right? Let's just dive the bat, right? No problem. But obviously it's gonna get harder at times as well. Like it's gonna be harder. So then you should ask yourself, okay, so then this next fight, how should I approach this next engagement? Not just and then who should I dive, but also like make diving a 2-step process: the setup and then the actual dive itself, right? So like right here, start listening for any information that you have. Crazy. So 2-step process here. Where are they? Where do I need to be?
Okay, so we've got 2 hit scan on the high ground.
Let's go for it, yeah.
I've already lost quite a bit of health going in here. You scared me though. I don't want to fight him on the back at the same time, but I've got Zarya distracted. That's cool.
So next bubble here, where do you want to go in from?
Probably going to go in from the side of them around here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Good, we go straight on the top.
Nice.
Probably gonna die here, but
yeah, it was a reasonable trade. I think what I'm seeing is like part of it is just because you're being coached, so you're kind of narrating what you're doing. I don't want you to worry about that as much. I want you just to, you can shut your yapper and just focus on doing exactly what I'm asking you to do.
Sure.
Just focus on setting up, because you're doing a good job with the setup. It just takes a little too long. It's a little too long. It's like this engage. Where's your 2-step process? You got primal as well.
I'm gonna go back in the high ground again.
Okay. Nice. Good stuff. And here, where do you need to go? Are you happy where you are?
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, I agree. So where's the next engage when you get bubble?
Round on this drunk crap.
Yeah, that's good, good. Nice. Alright, let's grab your perk. Nice, he's out. Oh, that's kind of tragic. You guys could have capped that. You guys walked off the cart. That's
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right. It's all right.
I also I knew what the soldier was gonna do. I knew he was going on high ground to ult, and I didn't respect it.
That's okay. That's okay. So same thing here. Like obviously you don't have primal. Press tab for me really fast, because you got a couple of we got Valk, right? So same thing here. The way that they're going to be positioned is going to change here. So your setup might be a little bit different. So listen and then set up accordingly.
Push that payload.
Tried to bubble it for him, but
That's
wasn't
okay.
enough.
That's okay. Just reset. And or play your life. Just chill. If you get pushed, where do you go here?
I'm gonna go back over the roof, back towards spawn, which I'm gonna try and do now.
Yep.
Oh, I'm good.
That's okay.
Got Mercy.
Now what? You got your team, you got your bubble. Where's the next step?
I don't have my team yet. Soldier again.
Yep. Don't have bubble just yet, but where's the engage going to be? Yep, there you go.
Got to deal with that soldier. Can't while I'm booped. Oh my goodness.
You're fine. Yep. Good.
He lived.
He grabbed the mega. Where do you need to be now?
And this soldier again. Yeah.
That was okay. So that engagement, I think where you were was always the correct play. I think it was more a question of the execution of the mechanics of like landing your jumps, hitting the primal, hitting the shots, right? So like from what we're practicing, you could feel good about that engage. That was fine. And we have one more here too. So stay locked in for setup. Obviously we got to worry about cart here, but same kind of thing. Where do I need to be? Where can I go? And there's not a huge rush right now. You got 10 seconds. You got plenty of time. Nice, you got touch. That's OT. Alright, stay locked in on one target here. Yeah, good stuff. Okay. Now, this is going to be a lot harder, right? Much worse setup for Winston, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'd consider swapping to Rhine if this goes bad.
Yep, I think that makes sense. So in the meantime, though, think about your setups. Use your mobility. Do I set up an angle? Do I play my bubble in the corner? Do I flank across? Like, you got to start thinking here. Sure.
Making
that was
the
good.
Diva come back from my corner.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. That was good. All right, start to think your next bubble here. That's a really good trade for you guys. 3 ults. We'll take it.
Yeah, I'm going to go Rhine.
Works for me.
Or Zarya. Zarya with the Diva.
Yeah, Zarya would be good. Flat map, and more of a comfort pick for you too, so. So with Zarya, okay, well, this is stressful. With Zarya, I want you to think this. Yeah, it's fine. With Zarya, it's the same thing, where I want you to focus less on, like, just on your corner, essentially. Well, actually, we might not even have a proper fight here.
Yeah, I don't think we have one. That bomb was really good.
Press tab for me, see if your team swaps to a fast hero. You might want to swap to a fast hero here for touch. Maybe ball? Or...
yeah, I mean...
Yeah, you might need ball. Let's just see your sick engages here. Nice, alright. Don't worry about cart, go get him. Nice. See, you're the ball goat. I knew it. You found your talent. Nice job. All right. So even though it's ball, where should you set up? No cart. Set up. Set up for your next engage because they will touch. Where can you get a good slam here? Yeah. Nice. 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 And there you go. Nice job.
Spin to win.
Spin to win. Yeah, so I just want to caution you. I don't know if you play like this normally, but you did much better in the second half. But like, I think the first half, the goal of live coaching is not to see your thought processes in real time, because that's just going to slow you down, and it was slowing you down. The goal of live coaching is to kind of go like, this is kind of what I want you to fixate on, and I'm going to kind of keep you accountable to that, if that makes sense. And I think once you did that, you were much quicker with your setups and much quicker with your engages. And obviously, like, it was still stressful. We messed up some mechanics here and there, but yeah. Okay, play whatever you'd like here. Sure. So I kind of held your hand and told you what I wanted to work on with Winston. But I think you could kind of tell me what you want to work on here.
So, I mean, the way I play Sigma depends obviously on the enemy tank to an extent. What I'm using my rock for. That's the main thing I think about. One thing I normally think of myself as struggling to remember to recall shield as a mechanical thing.
Let's do that then. Let's just only fixate on that. So we won't worry as much about your positioning, your CD usage, and that means that you're going to have to let yourself make mistakes and not worry about it. All right. But I want your shield usage to be perfect, not just in terms of recalling it, but also placing it exactly where you want it to be. Yeah. That's your challenge.
3, 2, 1.
Nice. So fully fixated on shield here. I know there's a lot of distractions on your screen, but where does your shield need to be? When do you need to recall it? Good job with the shield. Good job with the shield. Good recall. Do you need your shield right now? Right, exactly.
No, not right now.
So just take the chip damage, let it fully recall. Good with the shield. Nice to like preserve its HP.
That's bad rock.
That's okay. Don't focus on the shield here. So that time you kind of forgot about your shield and let it break.
Yeah.
Same time there. So I know there's a lot happening on your screen. Stay locked in that shield. You'll have access to it in a second. That was good. Nice. That was perfect. You can go get him. Win the 1v1 with the shield here. Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. Really good stuff. Shield users looking pretty good so far. Nice job. Same thing here. Heck, even think about press tab. Do they have CC here? Yeah, let's make sure that we have shield to block sleep dart. I don't think she'll hit it, but let's practice it, you know?
Cool. Yeah.
Nice. Alright, as soon as they walk, use the shield for block and let it rip. Let's go. Nice. Alright, win the 1v1 with the shield. She's gonna have sleep again here, so just win the 1v1. All shield play here. Nice. Alright, she's out. Okay, so I know things are going well, but I want you to stay locked in into your shield placement and management. Be very deliberate with it. Where should your shield be? Yeah, thought about it. Shield? Haha. It's okay. Again, it's just good enough to where you should feel really good about what you're doing, but there's just enough mistakes to challenge you to do better in this next fight.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So it's perfect.
Yeah.
Stuff like I turn around to Accretion or Ramatra, which is good, but then I got slept in the back, right? And then I take a lot of damage as a result. Stuff like that you can just do a little bit better with. Yeah, I mean, honestly, pretty good so far. You should feel good. So I want you to push her, but I need a good shield for this to work. Nice.
Philip's going.
Yeah, it's fine. You can.
What is this guy doing?
Yeah, I don't know. He is on the loose. Just when you need that major perk, just to go float after him.
True. I don't know that I do quite like the punch. I know
think
this has.
yeah, I think versus Ramatra, it's probably better. Yeah. All right, shield. Yeah, good.
What is this?
Focus on the shield. Do not let that character get away with anything. Okay, let's walk forward. Get that melee perk. I like that one a lot versus Ramatras and Maze and stuff like that. It's really good.
Yeah, anyone who wants to walk up on me.
I don't know what the frickin' Mercy's falcon. Alright.
I'm dead hit.
Yeah, that's okay. So let's just die in card. I want you to die in card here. I don't want you to try to get up. You're not going to. Yeah, there you go. Good stuff. You kind of tell toward the end as stuff starts to get crazy, your shield usage gets worse and worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. There's like a lot of stimuli in your screen, but I want you to, during those moments, to really challenge yourself to stay focused. This is fine. You guys will have another touch, and they've just blown their old mink. Yeah, really good use of your shield.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
I got
okay.
distracted.
That's okay. Probably should back off here, like full out. All the way, all the way, all the way. It's just you and your Moira. Like even further than this, I think. Yeah, you might be cooked. Alright, let's focus on shield. Yep. Good. Nice job not letting that shield break. Don't let it break, don't let it break. Nice. Nice. Stay locked in on shield. Shield's very important right now. So that's a situation right there where you recalled it, but you're just kind of recalling it just because. You don't really have a reason for recalling it. It was full HP and you have a nano on your face. Keep that shield up, you know, and sit on it, right? So shield management doesn't mean not using it. Sometimes it means using all of it. Nice. Stay focused on the shield. Where does it need to be? How much of it do you need to use? Shield, shield, shield. Nice. Very good shift. Shield, shield, shield. Where does shield need to be? Where does shield need to be? Yeah, there you go. That's okay. That was better at the end there. They just had ults and we didn't. That's a double ult push there. Okay. For what we were practicing, you did a reasonable job. I think the main thing that I'm seeing for shields is that sometimes you don't play. When you turn around, you'll forget about it and then get shot in the back. And then the other one is that oftentimes you will be scared of using it. Like you'll recall it when there's a lot of damage in front of your face. It's just like you kind of have this habit of put it out for a second, recall it, but you don't really think about whether I should actually recall it or not. And so that might be a habit that you want to look at. We could review this a little bit, but okay.
Cool.
What do you want to play here? Back on Winston?
Yeah, back on Winston.
Okay.
I think, that's probably like an old habit from Overwatch 1, where it was one of those sort of things you saw a higher level player do, as the constant shield recalling and not really actually thinking about why I'm doing it.
Well, the hard part is that you have both, yeah. The hard part is it's usually something you do want to do. Like, it manages the amount of damage that you're taking without, like, wasting it, right? But again, there's always exceptions to that rule, and those exceptions are the ones that you're beefing, right? There's a Hanzo in front of you. There's a Junkrat in front of you. There's a Mei on top of you, right? Just sit the shield and let it break and dance, or the Nano Ana or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's also a sense of, like, disrespecting the enemy.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, thinking, this guy's not going to do that much damage to
True.
me, but it's still bad. That's still a bad habit.
Sure. Okay, we're back on Winston here, so again, let's focus back on, like, the setup phase for your dives and being as quick and efficient as possible.
So I'm gonna go over here.
This I like that. This is good. Scout and then make a decision.
I'm gonna get that Juno.
Okay.
Alright.
So I'd play your life here. Maybe even disengage.
Yeah.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. The initial setup for the dive was good. For what we're practicing, it's fine. Oh, we got a tick. That's huge, actually. That's incredible.
I thought I could maybe take out the Sigma, which would help with another push, but...
Yeah. You guys might get a touch here, Mercy. Oh, no. That's okay. Tick is huge. Okay, nice. Good stuff. Like the initial engage to go top and then scout. Now, obviously, your engage wasn't exactly like... It was pretty direct, but it seemed reasonable to go direct because you were able to jump so far back that nothing could really pursue, turn, and chase you, right? I mean, to be honest with you, if you're just even a little bit mechanically better, the Juno dies, right? Or if you're a little bit faster on the BAP, you force lamp faster or force regenerative burst faster. So in terms of what we wanted to practice, again, it was good.
I probably could have timed it better for the Juno to be lower to the ground so I could hit the melee combo more easily. Yeah, I'm gonna be getting in here.
What's the minor perks for the Sigma? Why can't I remember?
It's the accretion charges rock and the rock distance.
Yeah. Which one did you choose for the minor?
The accretion charges rock.
Your shift. Yeah, kinetic. Yeah. I think that one's much better. It's actually remarkable how much it reduces it. I think it's like 5 seconds or 6 seconds if you get a fully charged grasp.
Yeah, you're already doing that rotation as well with the cooldowns, right? So it just makes sense. The float's cool and all, but like...
This might be where you could strategize, where you actually don't pick your perks now in the future. You actually wait until you see it. Yeah, okay, we're back on the shield train here. So, for shield management, I think this is pretty reasonable. Even when you let your shield break, it was pretty reasonable. Like, you were splitting off, getting good value out of the shield. I think this is one of those moments where it's just like a question of mechanics, right? There are moments of combos there that you could have hit, a couple of shots, a couple of accretions that would have not just been pressure, but like actually resulted in kills and eliminations, right? But in terms of what we needed to practice, it was fine. Okay, let's actually, okay, so your call here. We can either do another game or we can actually look at that game and go more in depth. Your choice.
I want to queue DPS.
Let's do it.
That's my lowest rank, and yeah.
Sure. So in the meantime, I'm actually going to type up some of the things that I saw from just general practice. So general practice for, let's focus on Winston. Generally good practice on staging, setting up your dives angles faster. Proactive setup. Thought. Keep working on mechanics of alt fire, accurate landings, and even simple tracking. Okay. And then for Sigma was being deliberate with your shield placement, HP management, and timing. When to recall, when not to. Specifically, not just shuffling shield mindlessly and forgetting shield on front when you turn around. Being practice deliberate kill intention with your accretions shots. Okay, what do you want to practice here? We got Ash going
something
on.
I'm trying to work on with Ash is taking opportunity to stand still to aim when I can, and I don't have to.
Let's do it.
I should have anticipated he was going to come back on me. No, why I let him.
That's
myself
okay.
and keep going. Yeah, that's cool.
What are they on? Press tab. Okay.
Yeah, the ball's the main concern for me here, I think.
Soldier Torb is not really a threat. Nice. Good stuff. So just because of what you're playing versus, maybe it's better to have a different goal for this matchup, just because of the amount of pressure that you're under, right? So the mechanical goal is something that's better when there's some more of a static composition.
Yeah.
So let's play this fight out just as normally, don't overthink it, and then once we get a chance to calm down and think about it. Nice, he dies. What do you think? What should you practice?
So, I mean, it's another mechanical thing, but,
Sure.
I have a habit of, in exactly a situation like that, actually, is panic body shotting, when I should really still try to go for the head.
Sure. So, basically, under pressure, put the crosshair where it needs to be. Nice. Just chill for a second. They'll never see you. Never. They'll never see you. Ball won't see you. Lucy won't see you. You are invisible. You might be able to get this in like 5 seconds here. See if he peeks.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, you almost got it. That was close.
Yeah.
Okay. So under pressure, having confidence in hitting the shots. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it a little bit. There you go. Nice. Go ahead and grab
that way
your
against
perk.
ball.
Sure.
Oh.
Alright, so downtime, grab your perk. Oh, you already did. My bad. Too fast
Yeah, I
with
do it
it.
with the hotkeys.
Yeah, makes sense.
He rolled up on me. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. Bob wins this one, surely.
Well, we've got, yeah, 4 ults.
remaining.
Got to get this Bob into the back right corner as well.
Okay.
That's fine.
Don't worry about it. You can honestly even use that now despite the trance. There you go. And then chill.
Wow.
Yeah, so okay, so this is one of those moments. So this is actually like a pretty good encapsulation of what we were talking about earlier, where I've been very carefully kind of paying attention to some of the decisions that your team is making. You've been making a lot of mechanical beefs. Okay, let's be honest. For what we're trying to practice, there's been a lot of mechanical beefs. But this is one of those moments where you can go, the reason we're losing this fight is because I have 2 supports that refuse to take any space whatsoever. I'm gonna be honest with you. Your Junior Mercy have sat on cart despite running Dive, Tank, Sombra, Ashe, and refuse to do anything except heal each other and just get abused by the ball the entire game. You're not the weak point of what's happening right now, but ultimately, this is one of those drill games where you go, okay, these are the supports that are going to troll the next game, right? That I'm going to be the one playing versus them, you know? So what can I do that's productive while they're wasting this lobby's time? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think like this, you look at this like staying calm under pressure. How well were you able to practice that? Well, a little bit, right?
I didn't get a lot of opportunity to practice it.
And not a lot of opportunity to practice it, right? So, you know, was that because you were poor to practice, or was it just a bad lobby? I don't really know. I would have said that probably the better thing when you have a really, really bad lobby is just simply to practice about where can I set up, where can I be, you know? Because that's just a little bit more consistent. I think that would have, not just because that would have given you better rewards for the Wrecking Ball, like it would have been a better thing to practice versus them, but just because it's just an easier thing you can consistently practice. So let's do that right now. These supports suck, so where can you play? What angle should you be taking? When should you be shooting? Just big basic things. Like this Torb's gonna be difficult to play around.
He's already a problem.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So win the 1v1, or at least don't lose it, right? That's your challenge. Sure. Now where's the next angle? Should you find the next angle? Yeah, this is fine. I like this. This is clever. Good. Now the next angle. Don't worry about point. Don't worry about point. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you got
That's okay. That's okay. They just caught you by surprise. But honestly, like, if you think about your rotations there, you started on short range off angle. Pretty reasonable. Should have won the Torb 1v1. Then the next one, what was your rotation on behind? You avoided the turret and wrapped around behind. Good. Then they pushed you out. Then where did you go? Up top? Still a good angle, right? So from that, there's a logical sense of progression that you should feel good about. Okay, let's look here. I want to look at briefly one of the codes. I don't care which one we want to look at. We can either look at this crappy code or we can look at the other code. Both would be good to look at.
The other code. It was a longer game and more happened in it. This was just a mess.
Works for me. Okay, let's look at this here. Can you see my screen here?
Yeah.
So, did you want to look at the...
sorry, that was...
No. I was going to say. I mean, I'm down, but, you know, it's like your choice
it's not
here.
A lot to see, is there? It's such a short game.
Not as much. True, yeah.
Yeah. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Okay,
wait till we pull the code up here first. Okay. Well, we're missing a digit there.
JX on the end. Yeah.
JX.
Sometimes just doesn't copy from Overwatch.
That's fine.
You press copy and doesn't.
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
Ready.
Biggest takeaway from watching you play, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you here. You don't look fluid mechanically on any character so far.
Okay.
And I think that you're kind of aware of that just based off of the nature of what you're doing with your hero pool, which is totally fine. So I think there's like a couple of ways of approaching this. You could bite the bullet, narrow your hero pool, clean up your mechanics. Probably not the direction that you want to go. Your other option is to embrace kind of the flex player, right? And instead of trying to, be the best mechanical player, be more of a fundamental, I always know where my team is, I'm always playing corners, I'm never wasting my ultimate. And honestly, you could even play, not the counter swap game, I wouldn't play that, but I would play the map game. Like, for example, right now, I would never roll out in Winston first point Icon Vault attack when I have a Zarya or a Sigma in my back pocket, right? I would swap Winston for second, first opportunity I get, but this wouldn't be my first choice here. So what you do is you give yourself a slight leg up in terms of rank by just making the right choice for the right map. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, again, the Winston, I agree, is a weird pick here, but it's because of that issue of not trusting the DPS to take those two off angles that you have approaching the choke.
I get what you're saying, but every
just,
tank...
you have so many games on Icon Vault attack where you just get stuck on the choke.
Right, but you take a better cooldown trade as Sigma. Right, you take a better cooldown trade with Zarya. Like, every tank is an outputter of pressure, and no tank is like a solution in and of themselves. You're always going to be reliant off of your team to some extent. The only thing you could do is pick the best tank for the right situation. That's within your hero pool, and then perform as best as you possibly can. Because, like, here's what's happening is you're fixating on that as a problem. Like, oh, I got to control those angles. But really, if you think about quote-unquote angles on first point Icon Vault, they're one of the weakest, least important aspects of this particular point because of the nature of the point. So if your DPS don't take space, but you win the fight on main, well, that's more valuable just based off of the fact of how this map goes. Now, if you're saying, I don't like playing Zarya Sigma here because I can't trust my DPS to take space here, yeah, that's when I would swap to Winston. But again, that's no accident that Winston's just better on that point.
Sure.
The problems that you're going to deal with on Icon Vault first are going to be different more often than not than the problems you're going to deal with on Icon Vault second, just based off the geometry alone. So if you want to get better at Winston, you need to pick Winston on first point Icon Vault attack. I don't think he's bad. However, if you're looking at, I like playing a lot of different characters, then it would make sense if you want to squeeze every bit of value out to pick the best character for the best situation. That's kind of what I'm recommending. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Now, I say that because, as I said, I don't see your mechanics in terms of like your comfort of the character, when you bubble, when you move, how you move, to be a strong point, right? You're kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. So if that changes, if your priorities become, less of the flex player, want to narrow it down, want to clean up my mastery, then yeah, sure. Force Winston here. He's not terrible. You can make him work, right? Okay. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. But like little things like this here, right? Like if you're going to be good at Winston, you either need to get the landing damage or you need to get a full disengage. You kind of did neither, right? And part of that might be like I was kind of a bad judgment of the situation, but that's kind of where mechanics bleeds in just a little bit, where it's like the way that how you take engagements, where you take engagements, that is part of mechanics, right? Like if I look at this here as well, this bat probably should die. And look at where your bubble was placed in relation to the Baptiste. Do you see that? So
yeah, it went on over him. Yeah.
Right. So now it's like it's nice little canopy, right? Which is like that. I guess it blocks a little damage from the Zarya, but ultimately that's damage that you shouldn't have been taking from the bat.
Yeah.
Essentially, right? And that's kind of where mechanics kicks in a little bit. So I like the engage. Like I don't look at that and be like, oh, that was a dumb engage. I think it's all right. But ultimately, the result of not getting a kill is kind of unfortunate. Okay, let's keep going here. So in terms of setup here, with the information that you have here, what are you thinking? Let's ignore the soldier for right now. Let's pretend that everyone's clumped up here with the information that you have. How do you set up? Two-step process. Where do you go?
So, I don't want to go to where I went before. I can see the team stacked there. The soldier is isolated.
Mm-hmm.
It's potentially better to just work my way up the stairs first.
Yeah. Like again, you don't. Let's pretend you don't know the soldier.
I don't have
to
use leap here. I can just
right.
walk up the stairs.
Well, I think you can use leap, but you could just leap to come here, and then if you do want to set up for the backline, I would feel a lot more comfortable doing so from here, rather than doing so from straight on. Again, we're ignoring the soldier right now because that's hindsight. We didn't know he was there until it was like we already set up. But I guess again, this is fine. But do you see the mechanical problem here? Small mechanical problem. You misplaced your bubble.
Yeah, I've been trying to practice this as well because the bubble comes out it's weird. If you're standing still and you place the bubble, it goes more or less directly under you. When you're moving through, because it spawns before the hand animation.
Yeah, you see it right there.
It's kind of hard to judge where it's going to be when you're mid leap.
It spawns when you raise your hand up, not when you raise your hand down, basically.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and I'm like, that's a good jump. But man, if our bubble was there, we're able to hold this space for an extra 2 seconds, you know, and maybe even able to hold it, period. Now, this is another situation in which case I wanted, like, I think at this point in time, you were still doing a lot of the narration, which I kind of want you to stop doing. Because where should you be for this next engage right now? You should be thinking, like, what's the next step and where is that? Because you got bubble now, you got HP. Where should you be? This is not an easy question, but I want you to kind of chew on it.
Well, I mean, there's the same angle again at the top of the stairs. There's also the stairs at the other side. Get back onto the back again. Or
I mean, you can even come from here.
Yeah, that was the third option. Was this corner?
Right. Exactly. So basically, kind of like you're thinking. Okay, and then basically now the window's kind of closed.
Yeah, and the soldiers made the decision for me by going
pretty much. And so that the worst part is that you still get there, but you've lost 100 armor prior to getting there, essentially. So this is less mechanics, because the jump was fine, but more of like, while you were narrating, you were a little slow in the rotations. And I want to be clear, like, when you are practicing these things, and I'm sure you know this, you've been playing the game long enough, you should never expect yourself to kind of execute all of these things at the same time. Never. But this is why, if you're going to practice on your rotations, you got to give it nothing but your full attention. If you want to practice on accurate bubble placement, like right now, if you were to jump to Junkrat, accurate bubble placement's really important. So you don't lose too much HP and that he dies out. So, and even here, if you want to jump this guy, accurate bubble placement's important. And you can see the problem with your bubble placement right now.
I'm not taking any damage. He's not.
Right, you're not taking any damage. His hitbox is actively running away from you, and yet you bubble anyway. So then you're less able to pursue here, which a bubble here is Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
Right. So I guess kind of what I'm doing is, this could be a little bit discouraging. This is kind of how I feel like when I look at my Winston, right, where I feel like, you know, I have the information, I have the knowledge, but a lot of like mechanical in the moment.
Replay, dude. It's every replay.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I feel like I play really well and go back and look at it and go, that was horrible.
Right, so this is where you kind of have to pull ingredients out, right? Okay, my decisions about when I bubble in relation to my dive are not perfect. The accuracy with which I land and with which I primary fire is not perfectly accurate. The speed with which, and sometimes even the choices with which I set up my engages are not really accurate. And so let's work at those in isolation. Right? Let's work at those in isolation. And so what you may like lack in quantity because you only play, you know, let's say one game of Winston a day with the nature of your flex queue, right? At the very least, you're going to make that Winston game count. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it might be slow improvement, but we could make improvement. Like, you could do it, right? And I think that's kind of what I'm challenging you to do here. So if I go back and I adjust your notes, practice and stage and setting up your dive angles faster, keep working the mechanics of alternate fire, landing, and so on. I would also say practice, I'm going to type this up, edit the message, practice the accurate timing placement of bubbles.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's go ahead to Sigma here really fast. Is all this making sense so far?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. So we'll skip the ball in this area because the ball was actually kind of funny. You actually did a nice job. That was good. Okay, so let's simultaneously look at your shield placement, which is more of our focus, but also while you were focusing on shield placement, what details tended to slip, right? That maybe your autopilot isn't strong at. Like
yeah,
if I asked,
somehow I kept missing this Remarcher coming up on the left. I don't know how I was missing it.
Sure. Like if I'm coaching a top 500 Sigma and I say I want perfect shield management, I am probably going to expect their positioning and their accretion usage to be pretty good, just because they could do it with their eyes closed, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's a terrible show.
Okay, yes and no. Terrible should be specific with what was bad about it.
The accuracy of it.
That's
like
it. Right.
Yeah.
The accuracy and the angle was bad. The placement, the idea of using the shield was good, but the placement of where you put it was bad. You did recall it, which is good, and then this placement prior to the wall was also good. Now, I would have recalled it at this point in time. You were a little locked into the Ramatra, but you did recall it.
The barrier has fallen.
Okay. We'll skip ahead a little bit.
In this situation, on this angle in particular, on Eichenwald, like again, it's one of those things where like I'm not trusting my team to not like fail the bullet hell skill check of Junkrat.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. You're scared of the poke. You're scared of the spam down the main. The problem with that is if you had limitless shield resource, then I get it. But the problem is that what that often means is that you waste shield here. And then when there's an actual attempt to take space, like now, for example, right? You've burned your shield health. Basically, here's what the decision is. Do you trust your team to live a Bastion and Junkrat when they're poking here? Or do you trust her to live a Bastion and Junkrat when they're poking here? Your choice.
Sure, yeah.
You know, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. I understand this whole concept of not trusting your team, but it almost always results in you being vulnerable when your team needs you the most.
Yeah, I think there's also like an element of I kind of feel like I'm not thinking about using the shields as a tool for preventing them from taking space. Rather, I'm thinking about it me winning duels, like me winning the fight with the thing in front of me.
Sure, I don't think that's necessarily bad. Like again, we have not seen that be a problem. Most of the shield mistakes that we've seen have been either poor accuracy or using it when it wasn't necessary. Right? Like you not using shields now is fine. Like, you look at this death here, you can't prevent that. You can't worry about that. What you can do is have full shield so that when they try to push forward off of that, you get a trade. You know, this isn't over. Like, your Mercy gets the res off of here, and then right now, I mean, obviously, that's a goofy one. Yeah. But, like, this is a reasonable shield, right? Like, it's blocking burst damage, it's blocking CC. The only thing here is recall it. And that's a mistake.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's all. And then ultimately, you know, the mismanagement of your shield means you take too much damage. You take too much damage. You have to give up space. You give up space. The Junkrat gets out of the choke. So the Junkrat gets out of the choke. So now he's got an angle on your back line. And it's honestly a miracle that you guys don't lose that one right there. One little detail I'm going to add onto your Sigma thing is practice your discipline with corner usage. I felt sometimes you kind of floated, no pun intended, right? Just a little bit kind of hovering in the open. And I would prefer you to be better with your HP management and so on. If you were just like, if I were to like say, take the fight here, just small adjustments, just limit the amount of damage. I mean, even just sitting on turret here, I think would have been significantly better. So, okay. Your challenge is going to be kind of, can I continue to focus on what I need to do? And I think find out when I'm making mistakes because I don't trust my teammates or I don't trust this or I don't trust that. And you don't necessarily trust them to do their job perfectly. All you do is you go, I can only make the best possible decisions that I can make and then I can't control the rest. Right? You know that?
Yeah.
Don't let a worry about like, it's like saying I'm never going to sleep because I'm scared that there's like a robber going to break in. And so you don't sleep, you don't sleep, you pass out from exhaustion. And then, you know, the robber knocks down your door, but you're so exhausted that you can't even hear him come in, right? There's a certain irony about being so obsessed about your team's performance that you're actually unable to actually deal with it when it's time for it. Right. So it's not so much as
second guess what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And also like the satisfaction of feeling like I'm a victim to my teammates' performance when and you know this isn't the case, like, but like inside there is some sort of resentment when you have games like that Gibraltar game when, you know, obviously that is what it is, but also there are going to be games that you toss just because you don't trust your team. Right. Or which leads to bad resource management. So everything is sacrificed at the altar of pressure. How much pressure can I do without taking a lot of pressure? And that's really what the game of Overwatch is about, no matter what role you're playing. And it doesn't always, like, you have to make educated gambles sometimes, right? Like sometimes you go like, oh, I'm not going to shield now because I need my shield for the choke. And, you know, Junkrat dies because he gets shot by a Bastion grenade that he shouldn't have died to. But that's still 9 times out of 10 going to be the correct play, you know? So,
yeah.
All right. Any questions here?
No, all good.
All right, mate. Well, I want you to work on these things. Obviously, we didn't go as in detail on your